everyone, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, please subscribe down below. It's absolutely free and it helps the channel grow. For those of you that have actually subscribed, you guys have been liking my videos, you've been leaving comments. Thank you so much. I love you very, very much. I really appreciate all you're doing to support the channel. Thank you. In today's video, I'm going to teach you guys the easiest way to make a structured cape. So if you want to see how I do this, then definitely keep on watching.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
So first of all, you want to start off with your princess dart bustier or just a regular bustier, whatever you have. Now the next thing I'm doing is I'm marking 10 inches across the front. Now I have a detailed video on how to calculate your off-shoulder armhole, how many inches you need to cut your off-shoulder sleeve, all of that. I have a detailed video on that. The link will be in the description box down below. But basically I'm just cutting the armhole of my off-shoulder dress. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and just trim out the armhole, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut a band that I'm going to use for the off-shoulder. Now her off-shoulder measurement is 43 inches. Now I'm just folding a piece of fabric. I'm using a raw silk fabric for this, mirror face raw silk. I just folded that and then I cut it as a band. Again, a detailed tutorial on this whole off-shoulder sleeve and armhole is in the description box down below, so definitely check it out. So once I've cut that band out, I'm just going to go ahead and use my hair stair, or it's called a head stay or a cloth gum or a fusible interfacing, whatever you want to call it. But it's just basically to give structure to the sleeve. This is not the actual cape, this is just the small sleeve that the small off-shoulder sleeve for the dress basically. Now I'm just folding it and then I'm just sewing the edge there. Yeah, I'm using about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to sew this, and this is what it looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it out to the right side, and when I've turned it out, this is what we have. I'm just going to go ahead and just iron that flat. And this is what it looks like. Now moving on to the actual cape, I'm just using a mirror face raw silk as well. I just folded it in half, and the length that I'm using is about 35 inches, while the width I'm using is 7.5 inches. I use 35 inches because this cape is not going to go all the way around the shoulder. It's going to go all the way across the front, but it's going to stop at the armhole at the back. I hope that makes sense. So that's why I measured 35 inches. So go ahead and measure yourself or your client across the shoulder or around the shoulder, but stopping at the armhole at the back, right? Okay, now I got 2 pieces. So once I folded, I cut that into 2 pieces, and then one of the pieces will serve as my the main piece, while the other piece will serve as the lining piece. Now for the main piece, I'm using a cloth gum or a hair stay to stick on the main piece or the main fabric. I'm just going ahead to just gum that together, or gum it to the fabric. Now I'm just trimming out any excess hair stay that's left. And once I'm done with that, this is what we have basically. Now taking the other piece, which is going to serve as the lining piece, I'm using a soft gum or a paper stay, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm using for this one. Now it's important that the one you use as the lining is the one that you stick the paper stay to, because you know how paper stay is, it usually just squeezes. So the one you want to use as the main piece, you have to use your cloth gum or your hair stay for that one. Then the lining piece, you can go ahead and use your paper stay. Both of these interfacings will just give the cape structure. Now moving on to the boning we're going to use. This is the regular plastic boning we use. You can use this for corset and all that, but you cannot sew on this particular boning, so I'm not going to use this one. This is the one I'm going to use. This is the Regiline boning, and you can actually sew on this one. So this is the one we're going to be using. because the fact that you can sew on it allows us to manipulate it very easily. Now I'm just leaving half of an inch from the top, and then I'm just placing the boning, and then I'm just going to go ahead and sew it all the way along. I'll do the same thing for the bottom part as well. But before I do that, I'm just taking the fabric piece, and then I'm placing my lace on top. Because I'm using lace for this, I'm placing my lace on top, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew the lace around. Now if you're not using lace, or you're using an Ankara fabric or any other fabric, you don't have to do this. You can definitely just skip this step and go ahead and just sew your boning. But because I'm using a lace fabric, I'm just going ahead to just sew the lace so that the lace shows as well, and it's not just the mirror face raw silk. So I'm just sewing it all the way around. And then I'm just taking the boning, and then I'm placing it on the lining, the raw silk that is serving as my lining. I'm not placing this boning on the main fabric piece. I'm placing this boning on the raw silk that serves as my lining. Okay, so this is what we have. I did it at the top and at the bottom. As you can see, it's already coiling, it's already standing. That's what this boning does. Very, very, very important that you use it. Now I'm placing both pieces, the lining piece and the main fabric piece, right sides facing, and then I'm just joining them by the sides with half of an inch seam allowance. I'm trying to avoid, it's actually quarter of an inch seam allowance. I'm actually avoiding the boning as I'm sewing because I've already sewn the boning, so there's really no point sewing it again. Now I'm just trying to sew both pieces together. I'm going to do that for both sides. I'm doing it now for the second side as well. And now I'm just going to go ahead and just turn this to the right side. And look at what we have already. You can see it's coiling. The fact that it's coiling shows that it's really going to stand if you try to fold it. Now I'm just placing it back on my sewing machine. I'm just sewing beside the bone. So beside the bone, I'm not sewing on top of the boning, I'm sewing beside it. Now what this does is that it stops the lining part from coming out to the front. So it just keeps everything in place basically. So it's important that you go ahead and sew just beside the boning. It's very important. Now once you're done with that, I'm just going to go ahead and fix the band that I had cut at the beginning. I'm just going to sew it on the front and then turn it, and then also attach it to the back as well. Now this part right here is where the cape, I'm going to attach it to at the back. So the cape is not going around up to the zipper area, it's just going to stop at that back armhole. Now for the cape, I'm just going ahead to fold it in half, just so that I can get the center point or the midpoint. I'm just going to go ahead and mark that midpoint with a chalk so I know where it is. Now that midpoint is what I'm going to place at the center front, just right there in the center, and then I'm just going to ruche it or gather it up right there at the center, and then I'm going to go ahead and just stack that down. That's why it's important that you use the boning that you can sew on. If you use the boning the plastic boning that you cannot sew on, you can actually make the same style, but you won't be able to sew it like at this point. Now you won't be able to sew it where you need to sew it, because since it's plastic and it's going to break your needle, it's going to be a hassle trying to sew it. So it's important that you use the ridge line boning that you can actually sew on. Now this is what it looks like already. You can see that the cape is structured, is standing, is firm. Now see, once I fold it to the back, you can see how structured the cape is. You can see how firm it is. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just ruche the ending part. I actually weaved it with my weaving machine, the ending part of the cape, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just tack that down as well. And then I went ahead to do the same thing for the other side as well. And yeah, This is one side done. You can see how it's standing, guys. Then look at how it looks at the back, and then this is what it looks like once I've put both parts. Very simple, very easy. Let me know if this video was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.